brooding castles, nature-defying bloodstains, and a secret society founded in the aftermath. Our story has it all. But how much of it is true? How much can we trust? Welcome to History and Mystery, where we debunk various legends and lore across UNC and the Chapel Hill area. I'm Haley Minter, and in today's episode, we'll be focusing on the story behind Gimghoul Castle. More specifically, the battle that inspired its creation. You know, the medieval-looking castle just on the edge of campus, separated from everything else and only slightly intimidating to approach? Yes, there's a castle, and yes, it's just under a mile away from the pit. It was modeled after Anglo-Saxon castles and features a large hall, a tower reached by winding stairs, and a second, larger, three-story tower. A man named N.C. Curtis, probably not associated with the state, designed the building in 1915, which means Gimghoul Castle did not exist during the 1833 Peter Dromgoole duel, though the legend did inspire the castle's name. In fact, legend has it that it was this duel between rivals over a beautiful woman painted the very ground it sits on with blood. Just like everyone else at UNC, Peter Dromgoole applied to be a Carolina student, but unlike everyone else, he was denied admission. Instead of taking the hint, Dromgoole decided to stay on campus with a tutor to help him succeed in the admission cycle next year. So of course it was completely appropriate for Peter, a denied Carolina student, to attend the commencement ball, a sacred tradition to welcome accepted Carolina students to the community. It was here he met a lovely woman, Fanny, alongside her date. Maybe it was the anger of seeing someone with the object of his affections, or the sourness of being surrounded by people who were chosen to attend UNC. But Peter thought the best way to save face would be to challenge his rival to a duel over the lovely lady. Because everyone knows the way to a woman's heart is flowers or chocolate or standing over a body with a smoking gun. Actually, wait. What was that? Could women even go to UNC in 1833? A quick Google search will tell you that no, they couldn't. Women were not admitted to university until 1897, 60 years after the duel for Miss Fanny's hand is rumored to have taken place. And although the same can't be said for Peter Dromgoole, there's more than one hole in this story. Starting with our leading lady, let's investigate who Miss Fanny could have been, and what brought her into the lives of these young men. While she couldn't have been a student, the rest of her story checks out. The biggest social event of the year was the spring commencement ball, which many local girls attended with or without dates. This is where the story once again becomes convoluted. Based on legend, Miss Fanny would have two men vying for her hand, but why favor Peter? Turns out they both had something in common. Neither could attend UNC in 1833. Peter, along with his rival, prepared for a duel on the nearby hill with Fanny as their audience. But Peter's bitterness and jealousy was not enough to gain the upper hand, and the duel ended with Peter shot and killed, his blood splattering on a nearby rock and a terrified Fanny. The story's tragedy does not end there. In the aftermath, Fanny, after the trauma of watching the man she loved get shot, dies of grief near a spring across from what is known today as Old Raleigh Road. The spring eventually came to be named after her, just as Gimghoul Castle was named after Peter. Now the legend is terribly cliche and tragic, a true Romeo and Juliet of early North Carolina lore. But the version of the story you've been told doesn't exactly line up with the history. As you know, Peter Dromgoole was rejected upon applying to school in 1832. From there, historical accounts of his life split into two possible paths. Option 1, Peter's rejected from UNC. He lives on campus, hiring a tutor in the hopes of applying next year. At the commencement ball, he meets Fanny and her suitor, challenging the other man to a duel in order to win the fair maiden's hand. In a dramatic battle to the death, Peter is fatally shot, his body being buried on the site of the tragedy, his grave being marked with a rock stained by his own blood. Or, according to university records, he just goes missing. Option 2. Peter's rejected from UNC. He joins the army and leaves for Europe, likely leading a quiet, unassuming life. Or dying in war. All in all, the legend of Peter Dromgoole is a major piece of UNC's history, but in all likelihood, it didn't actually happen. This was a fantastical event passed down through the generations, romanticized to add mystery to the castle and the Order of Gimghoul. Now, the castle is a living monument to the legend and a way for Peter's story to be shared with future generations of Tar Heels. I think it's probably good.